Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about the CTP of destruction. And when I say destruction, I don't mean destruction of your wallet. I mean that one right over there. Now, as of the last update, we now know how the CTP proc that says chance to penetrate, we know how the CTP of destruction proc interacts with your character skills. So for example, Holiday Lady Deadpool's rotation is very easily 5 cancel 4 proc. But what happens when you press 5 and you hit the Deadpool parade, you get 80% chance to penetrate. As long as that chance to penetrate is over 30%, if it's 31% or 99%, it doesn't matter. It could be 1,000%, it could be 30.9%. I guess it probably should be 31%. But anyways, as long as it's over 30% chance to penetrate, it's going to ignore the penetration chance. So because I've given this to Holiday Lady Deadpool, and because we now have the clarification from the devs, you can look at this CTP of destruction on my Holiday Lady Deadpool as just a crit damage, guard break immunity, 200% damage proc. And that's a really good obelisk, but it's an obelisk, not a CTP of destruction. So I want to give you guys my top 15 picks, and these are characters that the CTP of destruction will 100% work with. You don't have to do any finagling, you don't have to skip skills, you don't have to say, well, it works sometimes. It works when you're not using this skill. No. These 15 characters do not have any native penetration except on their awakening skills or on their tier 3 skills, because every character that has a tier 3 skill has a penetration chance, except for Doctor Strange and a couple of others. Almost every tier 3 that has a tier 3 has penetration, and almost every single... Actually, you know what? Most awakening skills don't have penetration. Anyways, these characters don't have penetration except a couple. Anyways. The last reason why I want to make this video is because not that long ago, right? The beginning of this month, so less than a month ago, I gave you guys the top 10 character picks for every CTP. Little did I know we were going to get clarification on the CTP of destruction very, very soon. So unfortunately, I have to apologize. On that list right there, Black Widow, Thor, and Deadpool are all three of them are bad picks. The rest of them are great, and the rest of them are going to be on my list now, but those three are bad. And I'm just going to do a quick explanation of how the CTP of destruction works one more time. It essentially looks at which one is the higher percentage first, and then if the percentage is higher on the CTP of destruction, then it looks at which one has more things that it penetrates. So I'll give you one example here. Kitty Pryde. I'm going to take a look at Kitty Pryde here. She has 80% chance to penetrate barrier, shield, and immune. 80% chance? Okay, so it's going to ignore the CTP of destruction and go with the 80% chance to penetrate. That means any CTP of destruction you give her is just going to be a crit damage proc with guard break immunity. That's just how it's going to be 100% of the time. Black Widow, on the other hand, is a little bit trickier because her penetration, she does have penetration on mission complete. Actually, she does not have penetration on mission complete. Okay, I have to stop assuming that tier 3 skills have penetration. I see, Marvel Future Fight. You are switching things up. I like it. I like it. Anyways, Black Widow Backup Fire has 100% chance to penetrate for 1 second, but it's a continuous buff, meaning that it reapplies itself every second. And of course, it's got immunity, barrier, and super armor. It doesn't have invincibility, but it doesn't matter. It's 100% chance, so it's just going to ignore the CTP of destruction until this skill is finished, if the CTP of destruction is still active. So it's just not worth it to chance it. And then the last one I want to show you guys actually is very interesting. I didn't think about this before. Gambit. So Gambit is one of the few characters that has a buff that is lower than 30%. Look at this. Straight Flush is a 5% chance to penetrate. Now, it penetrates super armor, barrier, shield, immune, and invincible. It penetrates everything, but it's only 5% chance. So in this case, if you had a CTP of destruction on Gambit, he's not in my top 15, but if you did, the CTP of destruction would activate, and it would ignore the penetration on Straight Flush. You'd still get the buffs, you'd still get the all defense down, but it would ignore this 5% chance, and then his percent chance to penetrate would bump up to whatever your destruction is. So it would bump up to 20% or 30% or 25%, whatever it may be. So it doesn't work for Kitty Pryde at all. Works sometimes for Black Widow, but basically doesn't really work for Black Widow, and then works all the time for Gambit. So with that explanation out of the way, now let's dive into my top 15. I want to say before I get into the top 15 here, this is, of course, just my opinion. It's nothing that you have to take as the word of the game, but also it's a very loose top 15. I'm not staking my life on these choices. These are just 15 of the best possible choices for destruction because they can be used in PvP and PvE, and they don't have penetration. Honest to donuts here, the CTP of destruction is not very good. It's not very good because 30% chance to penetrate is low. You know, we look at a character like Thane and he has 50% chance, sorry, 70% chance. We're like, man, that's not very good. That's already double, more than double what a CTP of destruction does. And it's for 5 seconds, which is the same as a destruction, on a 10-second cooldown. So yeah, the CTP of destruction activates a little bit sooner than that. It's a little bit faster than that because it is 5 seconds with a 7-second cooldown, but it's double the percentage. And we still think that Thane is bad, right? We still don't think this penetration is good. So yeah, that's sort of the problem with the CTP of destruction. It's not quite good enough for PvP to be like reliable in PvP, and then it's just not quite good enough to be reliable in PvE. Not to mention the fact that there are no bosses that have gigantic shields that you need to penetrate, right? None of the world bosses create a shield that you would need to penetrate. You know, squad battle, there's no shield that you have to penetrate. There is a shield on some days of ABX, but we all know that you can just use a character that has penetration or use a rage. You know, there's just so many better options. So really, what makes it good for PvE is that it has crit damage and it has a proc. That's basically it. The penetration doesn't really matter for PvE. It only really matters player versus player. But then again, the 30% chance, even maximum roll, 30% is not a lot. I really think they should buff the older CTPs and make them better. That would be amazing for an update. You know, buff the egg, buff transcendence, buff patience, and buff destruction and authority. But we'll have to see about that in the future. Anywho, so yeah. With that being said, acknowledging that the CTP of destruction is not the best for world boss, it's not the best for timeline battle, obviously there are better choices for most of these characters. So coming in at number 15, we have Iron Man. Again, a regeneration CTP might be better for PvP. Of course, a CTP of rage is better for PvE. But if you don't have either of those and you still want to make use of your Iron Man, a CTP of destruction is not that bad. He's got iframes, he's got healing, he's got all defense down, he's got the snap with the time freeze for 3 seconds. He's got a lot of weapons available to him. Penetration is not one of those weapons. And unlike some other characters, he does have a way to sort of protect himself. Not only does he have the heal at the end of 4, but he also has the nano shield. So the nano shield is going to help him and sort of protect him. Again, not the best option, but not the worst either. Coming in at number 14, I put Apocalypse. Apocalypse, again, better for PvP with a regen, better for PvE with a rage. I'm not going to repeat this too many more times, but that's just the way it is. But like Iron Man, he only has penetration on his tier 3 skill. And unlike Iron Man, I think Apocalypse is pretty easy to proc if you do 4 cancel 5. You can basically insta-cancel 4 and then go into 5, and that's an easy way to proc and land your damage. Now, of course, he's all elemental except for Weapon of War, so you could get away with a Judgment or a double mind damage proc or a mind damage crit damage proc. Those can be really hard to roll. So if you're not really sure what to give your Apocalypse, but you built him up and bought his Messiah Complex uniform, he does have a heal, he does have damage reduction, so he's kind of tanky. Maybe he can put in some work for you in PvP and sort of have that dual, that 2-in-1 build that a CTP of destruction offers. Coming in at number 13, next up on the list, Mysterio. All players get Mysterio for free from the legendary battle, so that is nice. You do need to pick up his uniform for him to be any good at all, and like Apocalypse, he does have all mind damage, so he may be better off with a double mind proc or something like that. But destruction's honestly not bad. I've had destruction on him for a while, and it's decent, and he does have some limited but some PvP potential with a heal, iframes, and he also has 66% damage reduction, which is pretty good. It's not bad. It's pretty good. Oh, he has penetration. Oh, wow. I completely forgot about this. He has 50% all attack, which is crazy. 25% chance to penetrate, shield, immune, invincible. Okay, wow, interesting. So you could only give him a destruction. I didn't even know this. I forgot. You could only give him a destruction if it was if it was rolled perfectly. So is mine rolled perfectly? It is. Okay. So mine is rolled to 30% chance. So it is taking over. Actually, it could be rolled 180% increased damage, and then it would be 25%, and then the destruction would still, it would still matter because it'll see that 25% is the same as the uniform effect, but then this one is shield, immune, invincible, which is 3 different things, but this one has super armor, barrier, immune, invincible, which is 4, so then the CTP of destruction will still overwrite the uniform effect. But maybe that makes Mysterio worse for a CTP of destruction. maybe we'll make this a top 14. Anywho, coming in at number 12 or 11, depending on how many are on this list, we have Spider-Man 2099. Unlike Mysterio, I promise he does not have penetration on his uniform, and he doesn't have penetration anywhere else. And he's actually quite good for PvP. Not as good as, of course, the top 10, top 15 PvP characters, but, you know, if those characters didn't exist or we couldn't use them, he's actually really good, and he can one-shot a lot of characters with Spider Mirage, and it removes active buffs, so you can get their active invincibility or immunity gone, and then proc your CTP of Destruction, and then just wipe them out. So he is actually quite good. Coming in now, up next at number 11, we have the actual number 11 now. We have Rogue. And Rogue doesn't have penetration either. I was shocked. And she doesn't have a tier 3, so she just doesn't. And the nice thing about Rogue is she increases all buff effects by 20%, which means that when you proc with a CTP of Destruction that's rolled to 200%, you will actually have 30 times 1.2, 36%. So her 30% chance to penetrate with a perfectly rolled CTP of Destruction will actually bump up to 36%. That's not bad. It's not amazing. It's not 50%. It's not 70%, but it is a little bit better. So yeah, and I'm going to be putting out a video soon with Rogue, maybe showcasing that she's not as bad as we thought for, well, that she may be better than we thought for PvP, and she may be making a bit of a comeback. We'll see. Up next, we have Yelena. Yelena. I've already sung her praises multiple times for PvP. Now, I do use a CTP of Destruction because she has iframe ignore and she also has invisibility. So you can sort of cheat by not having a Destruction. But having a Destruction means that you can do almost as much damage as an energy, but you can also penetrate their invincibility proc obelisk. You can also penetrate if they're able to get skills off. So Destruction just makes her even more of a threat for PvP than she already was. And because she doesn't have any penetration, it does really shore up her biggest PvP weakness besides not having a heal. Up next is a character who does have a heal. We have Angel. Angel's just a solid character. He has increased damage dealt accumulation. So you pop that and then you pop 5 on an iframe and he just pops up for tons of damage, in addition to having the Destruction there to sort of push him to the next level and sort of like push through their defenses and sort of kill them, hopefully. Next up, coming in number 9 here, or number 8, no, number 8. Oh, I skipped one. Okay, that was number 7. I'm getting confused with the number now because I made that joke about Mysterio. Anyways, we have Corvus, and then Emma's next. I think Emma's a little bit better than Corvus for PvP. But yeah, Corvus was used once upon a time. He's not really used much anymore, but he does have Revive. He doesn't have a heal, and he also doesn't have penetration. But you can sort of string together 5 and 3 with these iframes and just cheekily bounce in between them for most opponents that don't have iframe ignore, and he can do quite well. And Destruction just helps him do more, although, yeah, a regen might be better to shore up his defenses and make him even more annoying, because what's worse than killing one enemy with a regen? Well, he revives and you have to do it all over again. Coming up next, we have Emma Frost, and it was pretty frustrating for a lot of people, I think, when she moved from mind damage over to fire damage. So one way of, you know, not having to worry about that is giving her a CTP of Destruction. Now, she was never really super meta for PvP, but she does have her place, in part because her illusions give her damage reduction. You can see 85% for 10 seconds. Now, before, she summoned an illusion that could actually take hits for her and sort of gave her like an invisibility, because she would disappear and the clone would appear, so then the AI would just target the clone. That doesn't work anymore. So hopefully they will change that with her next uniform. I'm not saying they should give her a uniform anytime soon, but I'm just saying if they change that, she becomes a very potent opponent, because she can pop this illusion, greatly reduce the damage she receives, and then she can blast off with 5 and 4, and with the penetration of a CTP of Destruction, she just blasts through her enemies. Next up, we have probably maybe the most controversial character on this list, Mystique. Now, I put Mystique on this list not because she's godly with a rage, and she's even good with an energy CTP or a proc, but a lot of people use her on their PvP team because of her passive, right? Because of Perfect Deception. So my thought was, if you don't have any extra rages or regens or energies lying around, and not many players do, and you want to use Mystique for PvE, but you also need her for PvP because you don't do enough damage and you can't get through those Colossus teams without her, you could give her a CTP of Destruction. She doesn't have any penetration herself, so it makes her a viable weapon against other teams, and it also means that you get to use her passive and she gets to double dip in PvP and PvE. So I actually think it's a pretty nice niche choice. Again, not her best CTP, not the best option, but definitely not a bad option. Up next, coming in at number 5, top 5 now, we have Captain America. And he hasn't been in PvP for a long time, but he still has a lot of value for both PvE and to a lesser extent PvP. But he does have more flexibility now as both a blast and a combat type, and he doesn't have any penetration, so a CTP of Destruction would help him sort of finish off enemies that he's sort of going toe-to-toe with. And because he has the largest stat bump in the game, you can see even with a purely PvE build, he's rocking almost 65,000 HP. So it's not difficult to give him a Destruction, but still have him be super, super beefy and super tanky to take hits. Coming in at number 4, we have Ant-Man. Here's where we get into the characters that are actually legitimately frequently used with a CTP of Destruction. The only reason why the rest of these characters on this list aren't used with a Destruction is because PvP is just such a small window of opportunity for certain characters. So Ant-Man comes in at number 4, doesn't have penetration, has tons of iframes, and so you just sit in iframes 5-4, 5-4, 2, and you use your Destruction to get the final blow in while he's got the elusive hero passive up that makes him basically impossible to hit unless they have a greed or an energy or native ignore dodge. Ant-Man's value has dropped a lot in PvP, but it still works. It still works once in a while. It's cute. Doesn't work against Silver Surfer. No iframes working against Silver Surfer, but he does work otherwise. Coming in at number 3, the top 3 now, we have Spider-Man. And no, I'm not going to tier 3 him, but yes, he is good with the Destruction for pretty much the same reasons as Ant-Man. Tons of iframes, decent damage, definitely needs the proc to finish off a lot of opponents, especially the beefier ones, and definitely needs the penetration to finish them off as well. The penetration also helps him continue to web them up when otherwise they would be immune to webbing from their invincibility or other effects that would render those debuffs, ineffective. At number 2, this is sort of cheating. There's technically like 18 or 19 characters on this list, but number 2 is just all of the Warriors of the Sky. I don't want to break them up into separate, ranks because I thought it would be so cheesy. At number 2, Blue Dragon. At number 4, Sunbird. No, all the Warriors of the Sky, including the shunned one, okay, the odd one out, the redhead stepbrother. We have War Tiger, yes. So all the Warriors of the Sky, we've done videos on them. We've talked about it a lot. Very good with the Destruction because they revive. And then you just cheese them with the Awakening skill. So that leaves one character. Who is it? Of course, nope. It's not Transcendence Sharon Rogers. It's Captain Marvel. Basically the quintessential character for a CTP of Destruction if you're not pushing for ABX. She has tremendous damage, lots of iframes, and she has iframe ignore. She just doesn't have, say it with me now, penetration. So the Destruction really shores up her one major weakness offensively. With a Destruction, she basically becomes, an undodgeable bomb that's just going to blast you in the face, unless your name is Silver Surfer, in which case you send it right back to her, and she cries, and she gets blown out of the meta. What's new? Anywho, those are my picks for the CTP of Destruction. Sorry I talked for so long and the video so long. I apologize, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.